Take your front seat. The runway lights are up and the room is buzzing. Welcome to Brand Runway, where fempreneurs, coaches and visionaries transform from hidden gem to high-end influence. I'm Jenni P, your front row guide to creating your own unforgettable brand presence. Each episode delivers the exact tools and brand direction to make you shine. From magnetic messaging to client attraction systems that feel as natural and delicious as a designer jacket. Whether I'm sharing backstage insights from my own journey or featuring conversations with brilliant innovators, you'll leave knowing exactly how to showcase your unique brilliance to attract your ideal customers. Because a luxury level brand presence shouldn't be exclusive. It should be accessible to every helping professional ready to step into your spotlight. Ladies, you've come to the right place. It's your time. And the champagne's on me. Welcome back to the Brand Runway studio. Today is a special day. It is the second edition of Brand Runway. And as is my mission, we are dealing with topics that are the most important in not just 2025, topics that will help you as an entrepreneur, a coach, fempreneur, female founder, really sustain your business in the long term. So we are talking about the big hairy topic of relationships and collaboration. And it is my absolute joy and honor to have on our cover this issue, my friend Christine Williams, who is a wellness coach. She's going to explain exactly what she does. We've known each other for a few years because she was in Preeminence magazine, and I have the utmost admiration and respect for her journey, for her success, and for the way that she so skillfully uses collaboration and networking and relationships. She's going to talk about it a lot better than I am. First of all, welcome, my friend Christine.
Thank you, Jenni. I am so glad to be here with you. It was truly a privilege and an honor to be here and to share about collaborations and strategic partnerships.
Okay, so first of all, even just knowing you a short time, just a few years, a short time, I have already seen the way that you have shifted in your business, that you're scaling, that it's growing, that you are doing so many amazing things. And I see the people that you work with, collaborate with, your coaches, your colleagues, your peers. I see everything. So first of all, can you please introduce yourself to our audience, exactly who you serve and what you do and the transformation that you bring?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. So I'm Christine Williams. My friends call me Chris. So if you see Chris Williams down underneath the picture here on Zoom, that is who I am. I am a soulful business and leadership coach for women. So what that means is I help women who are health coaches, holistic practitioners, female founders that are wanting to start, grow, or scale a holistic business to six figures. Maybe they want to get to their first six figures, and then we also help them scale into the multiple six figures. So we really help them to create a business that is soulful and aligned with who they are and the way that they want to market, and find ways that actually allow them to build and grow a business without all of those outdated, wonky tactics that actually don't feel good for many holistic practitioners and entrepreneurs. I'm also a Forbes Council member, so I've got experience in that arena with Forbes.com. I have grown and scaled my business from literally nothing. So I know Jenni knows a little bit about my story. After 17 years of being married, I went through a divorce. I had 3 young children and had to figure out what it was that I wanted to do. And got this idea that I wanted to go into business for myself so that I could have the time freedom to spend with my kids. And that was back in 2012. And today, 2025, we've grown and scaled our business to over $2.5 million. So it's been quite a journey. journey. Collaborations and strategic partnerships have been a huge part of it. So in all stages. So I'm really, really excited to share this today with your viewers.
Fantastic, and so much kudos to you. So let's break it down, because relationships, collaboration, joint ventures, that it's a big topic. Let's talk about relationships in general first, and then maybe just go into some more detail about what kind of relationships have helped you, and what kind of relationships can help female founders.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask you a question, which is, it seems to me that in the wellness space and the coaching space, that practitioners are unused to this kind of networking online, because they're often practitioners offline in their own yoga rooms or studios or whatever. Is how hard do people find it? How hard do people find it when they come online and they realize how critical it is for them to grow their network online?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. And I actually started collaborating and growing partnerships offline. And then I went online, because when I first started my business, I wasn't aware of the whole Facebook and the Facebook groups things and all of that. It wasn't, it just wasn't as it is today. So collaborations and partnerships can actually happen both places. They can happen in person, and I actually continue to build and grow collaborations in person and also online. So it's not really difficult to do both in online either. I think that the issue here, especially for women that are in the first stages of their business, is to understand two things: that when we're building and growing our business, you really want to think about it as two levers. One lever that we pull in building and growing our business is, what are we doing organically ourselves to show up, to create visibility, to get in front of our ideal client they are. But the other lever is the collaborations and the partnerships, which is, how are we leveraging other people's businesses so that they can help you get in front of their audience. And we absolutely need to show up for ourselves, and we need to do things to create visibility for ourselves. And we know that collaborations and strategic partnerships can work really, really quickly in multiple ways. So I'd love to share, different ways that I teach my clients to collaborate online and also offline. We can absolutely talk about both.
Okay, go ahead. I think that would be really, really valuable.
Yeah. So when I first started offline, I was building and growing my health coaching practice as a functional nutritionist, as well as a health coach. And I had a massage therapy business. So I was kind of weaving all of that together. And one of the things that I decided to do was to reach out to people who are local that I already knew, that served my client in a different way. And so this is really going to be key for those of you that are just starting. You want to think about who is serving your client in a different way. So as a health coach, I knew that my clients were also going to chiropractors, acupuncturists, digestive health specialists, doctors. And I knew that those were going to be partners that my ideal client was going and seeing already. So that was going to be, a place that I wanted to start to just connect with them and see if I could bring value to them and bring value to their patients. And it was actually really, really fun. And I didn't have to worry about trying to get past the gatekeeper. I didn't do any cold calling. I didn't just knock on doors. I really started with who I knew. Who do I know who's an acupuncturist? Who is my chiropractor? I also went to some local networking events close by and met other small business owners, and I would listen for what it is that they did, and then I would connect with them and just give them value. And that's the second point that I want to really share here, that when we are creating relationships, we're not reaching out to somebody for what they can do for us. We're reaching out to them first to see how could we support them. And I call this playing the generosity game. So for example, for a chiropractor that I met, I went to them and I said, hey, tell me more about your chiropractic business. Tell me who it is that you serve. I'm a nutritionist and a health coach. I would love to be able to refer my clients to you. And I would love to know which types of clients are going to be the best fit for you. And so when we open up conversations that way, it becomes relaxed. It's not like we've got to say the right thing in order to get them to do anything. And then they're, of course, going to ask you what it is that you do. And then from there, I just set up like a little coffee chat with them later on. And you can totally do this online as well. My clients actually do this with each other. And just here, let's collaborate. collaborate. Like there may be let's chat about a way that we can actually serve each other's communities. So we're looking for what I call creating a win-win-win, not just a win for me, not just a win for them, but a win for me, for them, and also for both of our communities.
That makes total sense, and total sense, especially in the wellness space where there are so many different modalities and they are very, very complementary. So take this into the online space now. How does that
Mhm.
transpose into the online space?
Yeah. So in the online space, you actually have a wider reach. So I would say that it's actually easier online than it actually is in person, just because there's so many people that are available online. There are 3 billion people, on Facebook, and there are coaches that want to connect and collaborate with you. There are practitioners that know that it's an important way to build and grow their business. And even the ones that are making millions of dollars is a way to actually continue to build and grow and get in front of audiences, even if it's a small audience. So don't make the mistake of thinking, well, I don't really have a big audience, or I really don't have a big Facebook group, or I don't really have a whole bunch of, a big community to give them exposure to. There are other things that you can do to connect and collaborate with them. Such as you could write a book review for them if they're bringing out a book review. If you do have a Facebook group, you can bring them inside of your Facebook group and give them an opportunity to teach to your community and share something. You can do another thing that we call our bundle swap. So maybe you've got a freebie and you and another collaborator can share each other's freebies to an email list. You can ask them how they want to be supported as well. What could I do for you? Is there anything that you're promoting right now? How can I help you? So when we lead from that, place, it actually opens up a lot of potential, because you were looking for people who are willing to actually connect with you and also share, and to, you're in this relationship, and this is not joint venture, by the way. That's a different animal, and it's also not an affiliate. We can definitely talk about those two separate things. This is really about building a strategic partnership or a collaboration with somebody. And one of the things that I really loved to see when I was first building and growing my business is I just had courage to reach out to other successful women who I knew were building and growing my business, um, that I was already in their community. So one, we actually got to experience Kelly Roach, right, in the inaugural issue. And Kelly is actually my business coach. And I, asked if she would be willing to come on my podcast. And she was like, absolutely. So, she has a $10 million business, for her to, see the value of coming on somebody else's podcast, even if it's not as big as her audience that she has, we can see that it's a really important part. Same thing with Fabian Fredrickson. When I was doing a summit, we were, inviting women who are serving my clients in a different way. And, I didn't have a giant audience, and my Facebook group was only 1,500 people. I think my email list at that time was probably around 1,000, 2,000. So it wasn't like I was leading with this idea of, oh, I'm going to give you all this great exposure. And even so, they were absolutely willing, because they know how important it is even to be in small rooms. So don't think that collaborations and partnerships are about getting into these giant rooms. It can be showing up in the rooms that your ideal client is, and then you just start growing from there, and you start sharing, and you start, giving generously, and seeing who are the people that you really love. Do you like their energy? Do you like their message? How does it, start working to actually just give you greater visibility in the process as well?
I love that you brought up the fact that established, just really established leaders will often, like Kelly, like Fabienne, be generous with their time and their sharing, and giving you exposure, or giving you exposure. That it's not because we can be a little bit intimidated, when you look at Kelly's website, the power what she's created. If you didn't know, if you didn't know her, it's actually you feel quite intimidated to think, I'm not even sure if I actually belong
Sure.
in the same universe as her. Yeah,
I know, right?
yeah.
Yeah, but the really cool thing, especially with highly successful leaders in our industry that know what they're doing and believe in the power of relationships and collaborations, is that, I give value to her as well. right? I might not be giving her exposure to, all of that numbers. However, there are a lot of little things that I can do. I can bring her inside of my community. I can share, wins that I have inside of her program. I can write reviews on her books. I can show up to her lives and comment. There are a lot of things that I do to support her brand as a client, but also, as a friend. Like now I get to see her in person, and I make it an intentional part of actually participating in her in-person events. She's actually coming to Charlotte here in June, and I'm so excited because that's where I live. I'm in Charlotte. So it's another opportunity for me to be in her world, connect with her again, and also connect with the other women that she's bringing into her community too. So, that's another way that we can connect and collaborate with others, is go to these other events where other women entrepreneurs are going, because they're going there to connect and collaborate as well. And I got to meet some amazing women who offer services to coaches in a different way that I do, such as marketing, photography, copywriting, all of these different things. And so there are, just being in that room for one weekend connected me with about 5 different women whose audiences I can get in front of. Even, somebody who's like, hey, let's do an Instagram live together. And I'm like, amazing, great. So it's not as hard as we think it is. I think we tend to overcomplicate it or overthink it. But when we go into the places where other women are showing up, and we go to the places where those women are actually the same type of entrepreneurs that are serving your clients, that's the key. I wouldn't go to a real estate conference. Clients don't sell real estate. And, for me, that wouldn't be a good fit. So I really look for the opportunities and the entrepreneurs that have something of value that is also going to benefit my clients, so that, again, it's a mutual thing. I can bring them in, they can share their copywriting, they can share about their process. And I am happy to have my clients, go into their groups or download their freebies or feature them. And then there's just that beautiful, we talk about collaborations, that it's a beautiful give and receive that happens, in a really effortless way. To be, difficult thing. You're connecting with each other and just chatting and saying, what do you got going on? How can I support you? And you're like, well, I've got this thing going on. I've got a new masterclass coming up, or I've got, a new freebie I put out, or, I've got a new article. You just share with each other what is going to be the most beneficial.
Yeah, it's leveraging the beautiful law of reciprocity. And the other beautiful thing is that
Yep.
there is such a diversity of skills, abilities, and services now. Like there are so many. We almost can't cross over, or else we serve a particular kind of people. There are so many. It's not hard to find people who can complement our own speciality. I just look around sometimes.
Yeah.
The things that because this online world has been sort of taken apart, and people have specialized in so many different areas, like copywriting, but a particular style of copywriting, or design, or PR, or mastering particular platforms, and that sort of thing. So the world's really our oyster as regards, who it's possible to play with. I was going to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yes. 2 things. Who can we play with? And also, how can we add to the reciprocity bank? Really, we are. Like, when we lead from that place, people naturally want to give back. They really do, because they know that that is beneficial to everybody. And if they don't want to give back, then they're probably not a good fit for you to collaborate with in the first place. So, there's definitely going to be times where you might, work with somebody, and you think it's a good fit in the beginning, and it turned out not to be. And I was like, okay, well, this just wasn't what I thought it was. And so you just move on, and not really make it a big deal. But there's so many people to connect and collaborate with, that you will get to a point that where you probably are at, and I'm at, where you're like, I literally don't have any time for any connection calls right now. Like, I just don't have time in my calendar. And so now, I'm at the point where I really need to be very, very clear around who is the client that they serve and be intentional about who I'm connecting and collaborating with just because of the time, just because of the time. And it doesn't mean that I don't go into small rooms. I absolutely will. I mean, that's not a problem. It's just that I need to be clear on who somebody is serving and how I can also feel that I'm bringing value to them and into their community too.
You know, when I came online in about 2012, between 2012 and 2017, I learned something. It was actually before that. I learned something that's really, really served me, which is to find a leader that you admire or leaders that you admire and go and do something for them without any expectation of it coming back to you. It's talking
Yeah.
about this natural law of reciprocity again. And I took that on board. And in the Preeminence wasn't my first magazine; it was one before that. But I went to leaders, even people like Simon Sinek, as big as Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek was in my very first magazine.
Amazing.
Yes, but then I had a lot of really amazing leaders. But what happened was, from giving them another platform and another voice, so many doors were opened,
Yes.
so many doors
Yeah.
opened because of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the other thing was, and I know you can talk a little bit about this because it's very much in your space, is I got into the vibe of these leaders. I got into their energetic space. So I was feeling what it was like to be at that level.
Yeah.
Run with that one a little bit, because I
Yes.
think I think that's so valuable,
Absolutely.
especially for people starting out, when it's kind of, they see us and them. I'm
Mhm.
small down here and they're big up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, when you are in, especially when you're working in, at least one of the strategies, and I don't even like to call it a strategy, that sounds impersonal, but, I will, look for leaders that are doing amazing things that I want to learn from. And so, Sarah Cannell is one. She's the one who actually helped me publish my book, The Soulful Abundance System. I've been in her community for, gosh, 4 years, maybe even 5. Kelly Roach is another one because I want to learn from her. And when you are working or in somebody's community like that, they are bringing a different caliber of entrepreneur into their community. People that are serious, people that know the value of connections, people that want to learn, and people that also want to connect and collaborate with you. And so just being in those rooms really do help you see, number one, honestly, we're all dealing with a lot of the same problems. It's just a different variation, whether you are trying to get to 6 figures or you're at 7 figures trying to get to 8 figures. You get to normalize some of the obstacles that you're bumping up against. But you also get really inspired because they are very, very generous with their information. And the people that are in there are also very, very generous. And I'll just give you a good example. In one of Kelly's programs, there's a woman that I got to meet. Her name is Carrie Ford. And she actually does somatic work with 7-figure women. And we just connected. And I said, Carrie, I love the work that you do. Would you be willing to come onto my podcast? And she's like, yes. And we just became friends. And we would, connect with each other, and we would message each other back and forth. And then she invited me to an event that she was having in Atlanta called the Champagne Club for female founders. And so I've been to 3 of those champagne clubs, and it is so fun. And you are with women who are there also to connect and support each other. And you leave there on such a high vibe because you know that you are in a room of people that support you and that are encouraging you, right? And especially with solo entrepreneurs, it's difficult to build and run a business on your own, even if you have part-time help, even if you have a VA, even if you have somebody that's helping you with marketing. It's not like we go to an office where there's a whole bunch of community of people around us. So you are in a room where you're also a part of a larger community that then also want to connect and support you. So, that was just one tiny example of me being in a room with somebody that I admire, connecting with somebody else that's in there who then invited me to another event. And now, I've met multiple women at all of these dinners. There's a separate Facebook group. We share what it is that we've got going on. We help each other promote. That's just from one. So when you said earlier about, it opens up so many doors, it absolutely does. And, we're all interested in adding to the reciprocity bank as well, which is amazing.
And this is so different from the myth that we had maybe I don't know, a decade ago, just 7 years ago, whereby networking was something that was a little bit seedy, where everybody was going to be pitching each other, where there was pressure to get your stuff out there, or to, or to own, like, dominate the space a bit, or any of that stuff. Do you think is that cultural? Is that women? Where does that come from? Is it
No,
a women
yeah.
this desire to really support each other and collaborate in that way?
I think that, the old outdated way of networking, which was to pitch your stuff, it's just a masculine way of doing business, and it's just outdated. Even the men that I know and I meet in these rooms, I've never been pitched by one person. Never. Like, they're not there to pitch. They're actually looking for how can they add to the reciprocity bank as well. And it just so happens that if they've got a service that I need, I'm going to work with them because I've connected with them and because I like them as a person, and we've, connected and have a conversation. So yeah, I think that it's just an outdated way of doing business. I think the ones that really are networking today, they know that really the number one thing is putting value and being generous. And how can you just connect with people without trying to pitch them on something? Yes, you're going to run across a few people that, and I haven't run across anybody in these rooms that I'm in. I have run across some people where they've invited me to be on their podcast, and part of their tactics is actually try to pitch me their program while they're interviewing me on their podcast. And I'm like, all right, this is not working for me. This is definitely not, going to be a collaboration partnership, because that's just not the way I roll. I really believe in the value of generosity in relationships. And when you do that, when you are in that energy giving value, the more value you share, the more comes back to you. And when we're in the energy of, well, what can I get from you? That's a very scarce mentality. It's a scarcity mindset, and it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good that way. So, I think that there's just the leaders that know what it is that they're doing. They just don't lead that way anymore. They lead from a very heart-centered, generous, connected place. I mean, it's beautiful when they do that, and it actually encourages their clients to stay in their world a heck of a lot longer as well, because they are, connecting with new people, but they're also being very generous with their people too, right? With the people that they work with and the people that they serve. So I really look for those types of relationships. I look for people who really care about the people that they're serving, as well as looking for, being generous with the partners that they have as well.
So from everything that you've just said, which is so rich and must be encouraging for anybody wondering how how to grow their visibility, grow their exposure, reach out and support other people. What about if we drop the big social media in there, and how people behave and react on social media, because it's not always as easy, to have this authenticity and this natural dialogue between leaders and experts on social media, because so many people do have, including women, have a thing behind their head, which is this is a possible client, and don't take the time to really create this network. So what about on social media?
Yeah. So even on social media, you want to start with who you know. This is not about, reaching out to a cold, think about it. Like, we don't invite people to work with us that are cold leads. Like, there has to be a connection and a relationship there. So it works the same offline as it does online. What are you doing online to, if you find somebody that you connect with and that you really like what it is that they're sharing, how can you share their posts? How can you comment and create value for them just to be in their world? I've done that multiple times. And it's also how I've, connected and just created a relationship just for making a comment or sharing a post or saying, this is awesome. This is really impactful. This is what I really enjoyed about it. And they respond back. Tama Keeves is one who I had on my summit, and gosh, years ago. And we just connected on, I think it was on Instagram, and it was from her book, A Year Without Fear. And I started actually giving her book to my clients for birthday gifts. And I let her know that. And she was so thankful. And so when I asked her, hey, would you like to be on this summit? She was, yeah, of course I want to be on this summit. So, again, look for who it is that you know first. You can even take a look at, different partners or people that you're working with, right? Like if I have something, I know I can reach out to you, Jenni, and say, hey, Jenni, I'm doing this thing. Do you know anybody who, this might serve, or do you know anybody that I should connect with? Or, so you can start always start with who you know. And then, take it from there. There can be introductions, which is another way. Nicole Kramer is a friend of mine. I met her in a program back in 2018. She connected me with Gina DeVee because she was a client of Gina DeVee's. And so we were, doing a summit, and she just connected me in Messenger with Gina directly and said, hey, Gina, my friend Chris is doing this summit. I wanted to connect you guys. And when Gina reached back out to me, she said, I normally don't do this, but because you're a friend of Nicole's, I would love to have a conversation with you. So that's how it works. That's how it works.
Absolutely. I can absolutely validate that. And I also would love to add that for people never to feel, I'm coming back to this word, intimidated again, that somebody is better than them, because I've approached so many really substantial, amazing, incredible leaders without feeling diminished in any way. And I still have those relationships. I'm still on their LinkedIn page, or I'm just going back onto the next podcast, or just because you think that you're small or that you're just beginning doesn't mean that you can't reach out to more established leaders.
Yeah.
The best way always is to work with them or come into their world. But agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And working with them is definitely one good way, because again, they know you, you're a client, they want to support you as a client, and they also want to help you win as well. But you don't have to be a client. It could be something that even if you've gone through somebody's program, or if you've connected with somebody at some time, just like with Tama in the book, right? I really loved her book. I'm like, that's a great book. I wanted to, start gifting that to my clients. I love it. It's on my bookshelf back there right behind me. So how can you give value to them? And you're right. We can get intimidated when we see people being big and successful, because we're comparing our chapter 1 to their chapter 20. Why would they have time for me? Why would they want? Well, again, the leaders that know what they're doing, the leaders that are the ones that know the value of strategic partnerships and collaborations, they don't see it that way. They see it as an opportunity to help somebody and to put value in the reciprocity bank that will come back to them. Even if it doesn't come back directly from the place that they put the value in, it will always come back in some way, shape, or form. I'll give you another example. Kendall Summerhawk is she's an OG coach. Like, she has been around for like well over 20 years. And I went through one of her programs years ago, and I asked her, I said, I would just love to do a testimonial for you. Like, this was like such a great program. And so I did a testimonial, which she still uses today when she offers people to come into her program. And I also share when I'm doing a retreat, or if I'm sharing something that she created that's helped me in my business, I'll share a picture and I'll tag her in it. And, that is something that, again, that's giving her visibility. It's giving her value. It's also social proof for her that what it is that she is teaching people is also working. Even though she is 20 years into this and multiple million, of dollars in her business, she still takes the time to comment on my posts. She'll still take the time to, cheer me on. And, I'll share her podcast. And she gave me a great, shout out on her first podcast because I shared it to my community. And so again, there's just so many ways when we look at it from what could I give instead of what can I get, it just opens up so many different ideas.
Totally. And I'm
counting
the names of people who've been on my covers, including Kendall Summerhawk and Gina DeVee.
Yeah, and Sarah Cannell. Yeah.
Yeah, and Fabienne.
Yep.
Do you know what? I feel like this whole topic is worth a book in its own in itself. It's such a big topic and so important. It's been amazing talking it through like this in this way that's makes it tangible for, you know, people who are listening to take this and run with it and be able to apply it. I feel like we've actually, you know, just taken the very, very basics of relationships and really brought out the importance of it. Is there anything else you'd like to add on this?
Yeah, I really just want to encourage people to try not to overthink this. You know, if you see somebody that you want to connect with, just be kind. Just reach out. Just say hello. Just like something, right? You know, I've had, you know, so many amazing people come into my world by me either just reaching out or by them reaching out to say hello, and really just trust you and your value and decide that you're going to, you know, really just play the generosity game. And it doesn't mean that this needs to take 24 hours a day. Even if you were just to take 10 minutes and, you know, reach out to 3 people to cheer them on, you know, a day. That's amazing. Like, oh my gosh, 3 people a day times what? 5 is what? 15, right? If you were doing 5, that would be 15 people that you would be reaching out to a week that would see you. And then you can decide, like, you know, who is their audience? Do I want to connect and collaborate with them? You know, and again, start with who you know. So if you are in another coaching program, this is another thing that I teach with my clients, right? They're growing and building their businesses to their first 6 figures. So I encourage them to talk with each other, see who they can connect and collaborate with. And they have gotten together and they've done Facebook's lives in each other's Facebook groups. They've brought them into their own programs to, for example, one of my clients is an anxiety coach for introverts. She's brought another one of her program colleagues in to teach breath work. Another one does human design. You know, there's just all of these great ways that you can actually start with who you know and see how you can start helping each other, because that is going to exponentially expand your reach. You can add hundreds of people to your email list or to your Facebook group very, very quickly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, this has been amazing, Christine. I'm so happy that we talked about this, and especially now in 2025. It's been wonderful. We are going to share all of the links, resources. You are an absolute ninja with the free resources.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Sorry?
I just created something brand new just for this topic. So I'm so excited to get to our readers.
Absolutely. So we are going to share all of that in the magazine, on the podcast, on YouTube, as far as we can. So thank you so much for being so gracious and coming in to talk about this. It's such an important subject, and you just completely did it justice.
Thank you. It's near and dear to my heart. It really does work. And it does work no matter what stage you're at. It really does.
I feel like the affiliate marketing, the joint ventures, all of that.
I know we didn't even get to that.
That's a whole other topic. Those are whole other topics. I think we should do a follow-up.
Absolutely. I'm all in. All in.
Okay. Lights down. That's a wrap on today's Brand Runway collection. I hope you're filled with inspiration to step into your spotlight and claim your place as the sought-after and fully booked up changemaker you're meant to be. Remember, your gifts and the value you bring to the world are pure gold. They deserve the perfect showcase. For all the tools and resources we discussed today, including the latest edition of Brand Runway magazine and how to take the next step, your VIP access awaits in the show notes below. This is your moment to shine brilliantly. And until our next showing, this is Jenni Parker Brand reminding you that every day is your runway. Bye-bye.